Hello everyone, my name is Fan Cheryl. My metric number is 311960. Today I'm going to present my research titled Factors Affecting the Performance of Lululemon Athletica Inc. This study examines the internal and external factors that influence the financial performance of Lululemon over a 10-year period from 2015 and 2024. The company's performance is measured using return on assets, or ROA, while statistical analysis is conducted using SPSS to identify the significant factors affecting performance. Now I will begin with the research background. Lululemon Athletica Inc. is a premium athletic apparel company founded in 1998 in Vancouver, Canada. Today, it operates in more than 17 countries with over 600 retail stores worldwide and has generated annual revenue exceeding $8 billion. Although Lululemon has achieved impressive growth over the years, the company is currently facing several business challenges. These include slower growth in the North American market, stronger competition from brands such as Alo Yoga and BWRRK, as well as increasing inflation and operating costs. These issues may affect the company's profitability and long-term sustainability. Therefore, this research was conducted to identify which factors have the greatest influence on Lululemon's financial performance. This study has three research objectives. The first objective is to identify the internal factors affecting Lululemon's financial performance. The second objective is to examine the macroeconomic or external factors influencing company performance. Finally, the third objective is to determine the relationship between both internal and external factors with return on assets. Based on these objectives, three research questions were developed to investigate whether these factors significantly influence the company's finance performance. Overall, the research aims to determine which group of factors contributes the most to ROA. Based on previous literature, the selected internal factors include corporate governance, liquidity risk, operational risk, and profitability, while the external factors consist of macroeconomic variables such as GDP growth, inflation, exchange rate, interest rate, and employment rate. Previous studies generally suggest that good profitability and strong corporate governance improve firm performance, whereas higher operational risk and market uncertainty may reduce financial performance. The research framework shown on the right illustrates how these independent variables are expected to influence return on assets, which is the dependent variable in this study. This study adopted a quantitative research design using secondary data. The data were collected from Lululemon's annual reports covering the period from 2015 to 2024. Return on assets was selected as the dependent variable because it reflects how efficiently the company used its assets to generate profits. The financial data were first extracted and processed using Microsoft Excel before being analyzed using IBM SPSS. Finally, multiple linear regression based on the ordinary least squares or OLS method was applied to determine the significant factors affecting ROA. Next, I will discuss the descriptive statistic and correlation analysis. The descriptive statistic indicate that Lululemon maintained relatively stable profitability throughout the 10-year period. The company also demonstrated strong liquidity and consistently high corporate governance standards. Moving to the correlation analysis, the findings show that return on equity, net profit margin, and operating profit margin has the strongest positive relationship with return on assets. However, variables related to liquidity, operational efficiency, and most macroeconomic indicators show relatively weak relationship with ROA. It is important to note that correlation only measures the strength of association between variables. Therefore, regression analysis was conducted to determine which variables significantly influence company performance. This slide presents the most important findings of this research. 3 regression models were developed. The internal factors model explains only 4.8% of the variation in return on assets, indicating a weak explanatory power. In comparison, the external factors model explains approximately 66.9%, demonstrating a much stronger ability to explain company performance. The combined model explains around 61.1% of the variation in ROA. Regarding the coefficient analysis, net profit margin is the only significant variable in the external model, while GDP growth and exchange rate are significant in the combined model because their p-values are below the 0.05 significant level. This study suggests that although profitability remains important, macroeconomic conditions have a greater influence on Lululemon's financial performance. This implies that management should continuously monitor economic conditions, such as GDP growth and exchange rate movements, when making strategic business decisions. This slide illustrates the financial trends observed during the study period. First, return on assets show an overall upward trend despite several fluctuations, indicating an improvement in the company's profitability over time. Second, the current ratio remained above 1 throughout the study period, suggesting that Lululemon maintained sufficient liquidity to meet its short-term obligations. Third, marketing risks become increasingly volatile, particularly after the COVID-19 period, reflecting greater uncertainty in the external business environment. Finally, inflation also increased significantly during the later years, creating additional cost pressures on the company. Overall, these trends support the regression findings that external economic conditions play an increasingly important role in determining Lululemon's financial performance. In conclusion, this study successfully achieved all 3 research objectives. The findings indicate that internal factors have limited influence on return on assets, whereas external factors provide stronger explanatory power in determining Lululemon's financial performance. Based on these findings, 3 recommendations are proposed. First, Lululemon should continue improving profitability through better cost efficiency and stronger margin management. Second, management should closely monitor macroeconomic conditions, particularly GDP growth, exchange rates, and inflation, as these variables significantly influence company performance. Finally, the company should continue strengthening corporate governance while diversifying its supply chain to improve long-term sustainability and reduce business risk. Overall, this study concludes that external economic conditions are more influential than internal operational factors in explaining Lululemon's financial performance. This concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.